Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I've been getting a lot of questions from people who've gotten the PPP money and they've let their employees go, and now they're like, okay, now what do? We need to get these people back on payroll. We're offering them jobs and they're not coming back. So this is a question that I was actually thinking about weeks ago because I was a little bit concerned about it. So I put together a webinar for clients and went through a lot of questions about HR specific topics with a friend of mine, an HR professional. Her name is Niki Ramirez. She owns HR Answers and she just is a wealth of knowledge. So I wanted to just kind of bring you guys a little snippet of that webinar so that you can see what she has to say, and I think it's really helpful. So enjoy this little snippet, and then at the end there's some ways to get in touch with her if you need any more help. All right, enjoy.
Okay, so maybe let's go into let's say, so we've got a number of people who either had to shut down, so either they shut down their business entirely or they severely cut back to where like they only have a few people working right now, or they're like, taking turns in a location or something, really cutting back hours. But they've applied for the PPP program. And so they need to keep payroll up, and they're ideally trying to keep people off of unemployment. Right. So what are our options for these people right now, and how can we make sure?
Yeah.
And how do we pay people if they're not working, and how do we classify that, and what do we do?
Yep. So I think to begin with, I believe that, again, sort of foundationally, that the PPP loan is best designed for a company that has completely closed up shop for now, right? They've sort of suspended business operations either because of a government order or they've self-selected because it's safer for their employees not to be working right now, right? Like maybe they could squeeze in as an essential business, but they're like, you know what, just too scary for us. So we don't want to do that. That's the best case scenario for PPP participants. Okay, so they get the Payroll Protection Program loan, and then essentially we're just paying people to stay home. I suggest that a letter goes out, kind of like a job offer letter, like a modified letter that says, Hannah, you are still our employee, and under a federal program, we are still able to pay your normal wages. And I would say that those normal wages, there are rules right within the loan as to how you have to keep them very close to what they were before. Like we can't reduce the amount of wages paid to Hannah by more than about 25%, right? Or we risk that loan being forgivable. So what I'm doing is notifying you, Hannah, we're not working, but we're going to still be able to pay you. This is great. Okay. And so we're just sending you your payroll check as normal, but you're not working. We're going to call you back, Hannah, when the time is right, and we expect you to come back to work. Right. So we're just kind of setting you up for that expectation. So there is a recommendation that you provide some sort of notice that the employee is being paid under the PPP program. Okay. That way they know that it's not for hours worked. They're not going to be eligible for overtime. There's no workers' comp claims at this time because they're not working, right? So don't tell me you checked your email and slipped and fell on the way.
You slip in the bathtub and you're like, wait, technically it was kind of like during my work hours. So Okay, question about that. So what if you fired or like let your employees go, or even furloughed them, or whatever you called it? You let your employees go and they went out and applied for unemployment insurance. How can we get them back on payroll?
So we want to call them back. Same kind of deal. We're going to contact them. I hope that everyone contacts each person individually. So you're giving them a phone call. And then if you don't hear from them right away, you send them an email, and you're going to let them know that you've received funding and you are going to put them back on the payroll, that they're still an employee with you. Unless you've laid them off, you can't really get them back if you laid them off unless you rehire them.
Offer them a job, essentially, an unpaid job. A paid non-job. Not working job.
A not working job. And I think what we'll run into is that conflict where maybe the wages I can offer you under my PPP program aren't as much as you're getting on unemployment. You may have some people decline coming back. Now, I understand that under the loan program, we have to, we have these funding, the use of funds, like how we use the funds, it's controlled and there are rules. So we have, we can't reduce our headcount too much. We can't reduce our salary too much, but if people refuse to come back because they're making more on unemployment, I say just proceed for now and document it. You can't make somebody come back, and you can't pay somebody wages that isn't your employee, right? So again, we don't know what we don't know about the actual implementation. So this, it makes sense for people who just have employees waiting right now, who are still employed, who are waiting. But there are provisions that say if you bring them back, if you restore them to their position, if they accept that offer to come back on the no work paid work, no work salary, that you're fine under the loan rules. And so we want to invite them back. We want to have evidence that we invited them back. Like we have phone calls, we send them a letter or an email, so that they are actually declining the offer. That may impact their ability to collect unemployment. So if they say no thank you to wages, they might get, eventually in a loop. I don't know, there's some sort of compliance loop where they say, have you been offered a job? And they say no, but that wouldn't be true, right? They'd be lying, so it'd be fraud. But yeah.
Well, I know that a lot of states are waiving the compliance rule of having to apply for a certain number of jobs every week because they're trying to keep people home. So we're like, okay, but you probably have to have some sort of like recertification process to like, some states might require you to like check a box every week or like report at some point in time. It may be not right now, but maybe in the future.
12 weeks or so. Yeah. So, I think the states that I've seen have suspended it for 12 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that kind of makes sense. But yeah, no, I think, you would probably just try to get some sort of like average payroll for the past maybe 6 months or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. And interestingly, employers can contact the unemployment office. Now, I know that this would put an incredible strain on your relationship with your employee. Okay. So if the employee is making more on unemployment, but you want to call them back, you could potentially contact the unemployment office and say, I've made an offer to return this employee to their position under my, PPP, and they've declined. Now, don't be surprised if you get an audit form at some point. I've had to do audits as an HR director a million times. I had to do audits, if I would get a form from the state and it would say, here are the people who are collecting on your account. When did they terminate? How did they, just remind us, basically re-verify and confirm that they are eligible or that they were eligible. And then if for some reason I had given them an offer to come back to work and they declined it, and we're still collecting unemployment, then the unemployment office would try to collect those funds back. It would have been a fraudulent claim. Yeah. So don't be surprised if at some point the unemployment state office reaches out to you to verify if you've called people back or not and who you've called back. But I don't expect that to happen until the end of the year, probably. Yeah. They won't get their feet under them to audit until then, if ever. Yep.
So basically keep really good records of who you've talked to, what you've offered them, contact people individually and send out those notices. Just kind of doing a quick calculation. So say somebody could get $200 a week from unemployment, but then they're getting the extra $600 a week from, from the government. So that's $800. And then if you just divide that by 40, let's just say that's a full-time worker, that's $20 an hour full-time. And we have people who, might be paying people, closer to minimum wage in a lot of states. So, and then they're not even at full time at minimum wage. Those are the workers that are going to be the most likely to not want to come back. But it doesn't mean that you couldn't offer a job to somebody else, right? You could still be hiring for a non-paid job, essentially.
Yeah, because we anticipate that there's going to be turnover anyway. There's always turnover in business. And so that's okay. It doesn't have to be the same roster of people. It's just the amount needs to be the same. So I even
keep up with Niki. So if you're not on her email list, get on it because she sends good stuff. And then she has a lot of resources on her website as well. And then Niki, if anybody has, obviously all clients always have access to book time with me. Niki's also got time available where you could just schedule calls with her. You do it's like a quick, what do you call it? Quick fire? Are you?
Yeah, we have 30-minute sessions where we just kind of talk through something in sort of a quick format. That's easy if we have a single, not too complex item to talk about. And then we have 90-minute sessions where we can dig into paperwork, we can analyze documents, I can help write a policy, that sort of thing. So yeah, quick fire is a conversation. A strategy session is more of a produced, there's something at the end that you have to hold on to, like a policy or form or something like that.
Right. Yeah. And Niki has a lot of like kind of policies started that she's taken like her HR guidance, and then she can customize for you. So if you don't have certain policies and you want them in place, reach out to her, because she's definitely got a lot of resources. And yeah. So, okay. Thank you so much. This has been so great. Lots of information, still more to learn, I'm sure. There always will be, but I really appreciate you taking the time. I don't see any other questions, so I think we'll just wrap up.
Okay.